My husband, Frank, turned 65 the year his high school sweetheart, Brenda, got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She'd forgotten everything, except that she was still in love with Frank. So Frank brought her back into our home, treating her like a porcelain doll. And me? I'm Helen, Frank's wife. I'm used to taking care of Frank, our son, and the grandkids. Now, I also have to take care of my husband's first love. After I spilled a whole pot of chili, I decided I was done. I wanted a divorce. Brenda was having another episode. She kept dumping salt into the casserole I was making. I tried to stop her, but she wouldn't let up. Not until the entire container of salt was in the pot. I tried scooping it out, but it was no use. That salt had already ruined my prize-winning chili. The front door opened. Frank came back from his walk, holding a pretty sundress. It was for Brenda. She was 65 years old, but she clapped her hands like a little girl. Frank, like a magician, pulled a flower from behind his back. It wasn't a rose, just some daisy he picked on the side of the road, but Brenda was just as happy. She sat quietly on the couch, admiring her flower and new dress. Frank, satisfied, walked into the kitchen, grabbed a spoon from my hand, and tasted the chili. He frowned. Salty. Something inside my head snapped. The next thing I knew, I had flung that whole pot of chili onto the floor. Frank stood in the kitchen doorway, protecting Brenda, who was trembling behind him. He looked shocked, confused. What are you doing? Before I could say anything, he gently led Brenda away. Never mind. I'll take her out to eat. You just rest here. I looked around the house at the scattered daisy petals, the clothes Brenda had thrown on the floor, and the chili splattered everywhere. I stood there, frozen, unable to walk away from the mess. I just sat down on the kitchen floor until our son, Mark, came home from work. Until Mark started yelling, "Where's Lily? Mom, didn't you pick up Lily from school?" He ran into the kitchen, saw the chili on the floor, took a step back, and yelled at me, "Mom, why didn't you pick up Lily?" I looked up at him, his figure silhouetted against the light. I couldn't see his face. "I thought you were picking her up now." He was silent for a moment, but then he got even angrier. "I'm swamped at work every day. You're home all day. How hard is it to pick up your granddaughter from school? He gets off work at 3. Lily doesn't get out of school until 4:30. I mumbled, "I can't do it all. It's too much." Nobody heard me. All I heard was the sound of him slamming the door. I looked at the sunset, too bright, bright enough to make me cry. How did my life get like this? Day in, day out, year after year, taking care of Frank, taking care of Mark, taking care of Mark's daughter, my granddaughter. Now, I was taking care of Frank's first love, Brenda, who had Alzheimer's. I stared at the chili on the floor, like a reflection of my messed up life. I looked at it for a long time, and then stepped right through it. I left a trail of footprints behind me. I went into the bedroom, got into bed, and closed my eyes. The sun set. Little by little, the door opened again. Laughter floated into the room. Someone asked, "Why are the lights off?" I heard Frank mumble something. Asterisk click. Asterisk. The lights went on. The living room fell silent. After a while, the bedroom door opened. Frank asked me gently, "Why didn't you make dinner? There are footprints all over the floor. Brenda could slip and fall. Why is it always me?" I stared at the ceiling. Frank didn't seem to understand. He turned on the light, and I saw that he was still holding Brenda's hand. He realized I was upset, but he couldn't figure out why. I just said the chili was a little salty. "Did you have to make such a big deal about it? The doctor said Brenda shouldn't have too much sodium." My eyes started to burn, but I fought it back, trying to keep my voice steadied. I choked a little, which just made it worse. "Brenda kept dumping salt into. She's sick." Frank cut me off. He looked exasperated, impatient. "Do you have to argue with a sick woman?" He made it sound like I was being unreasonable. Mark came back home with his wife, Sarah, and Lily. Mark walked in yelling, "I'm starving, Mom. Let's eat." Lily ran in, carrying her backpack. "Grandma, the teacher gave us a craft project. We have to make a picture out of pebbles. Will you take me to pick out pebbles, Grandma?" I sat up in bed. I saw the increasing amount of footprints all over the floor. Everyone walked right through the chili, ignoring it. Not one person even tried to wipe it up. Frank sighed. He took Brenda and Lily out. "Never mind. Let's go out to eat. Your mom's in a bad mood." Mark clicked his tongue, but he didn't say anything. He just followed Frank out the door. The whole family came in like a swarm, then left like a swarm. Someone closed the lights when they left. In the pitch black house, I was alone, with Frank's instructions echoing in my ears. "Wipe up the floor. Brenda likes to sit on the floor sometimes." He didn't ask if I was hungry, or if I wanted anything to eat. Before Brenda came, I didn't know Frank could be so romantic. We'd been married for 20 years, and he'd never given me flowers, but he didn't smoke, didn't drink. He was kind, and he had a good job. He never hesitated to spend money on me. He was a programmer, a tech guy, so I figured it was normal that he wasn't romantic. I always thought that's just how he was, not a talker, just a doer. But when Brenda got sick and he brought her here, I realized he knew exactly how to make a girl happy. When he was around Brenda, I felt like I was seeing Frank as an 18-year-old again, young and full of life. And no money, but a whole lot of love. And me? I was like the regretful choice in a lot of men's lives. I married the right person, but not the most loved. I only realized this when I was 60-5. It was too late, and yet, maybe it wasn't too late. I never found out who cleaned up that chili. I went to bed early. Frank nudged me away. Later that night, he wanted me to give Brenda a bath. I turned over, facing away from him. Frank said my name a few times, but in the end, he let Brenda sleep in her clothes. He woke up a few times during the night, checking on Brenda, and I slept soundly until morning. It's been a long time since I slept like this. I felt like I was always the first one to get up to cook, and the last one to go to bed after cleaning the kitchen. But why? I woke up at 6 and left. I got home at 7. Frank didn't even look at me. He just sounded impatient. "Why did it take you so long to get groceries? Brenda's hungry." I put down my bags, hung up my coat, and went straight to my room. "Then you can make her something. What am I around for?" Frank tried to cook, but he couldn't get the stove to light. In the end, he took Brenda out to eat. When Brenda was home, she would hit me, sometimes, on purpose. She thought I was the bad woman stealing Frank away from her, and she even put dish soap in my water. If I hadn't seen the bubbles, I might have drunk it. I'd talked to Frank about it, but Frank just said the same thing. "She's sick. Don't argue with her." I even suggested putting her in a nursing home, a good one, where she could be taken care of and it would take a load off our backs, but Frank wouldn't hear of it. of it. He was afraid the people at the nursing home wouldn't be careful enough. Who else was going to cook 3 meals a day, with a balanced diet, do the laundry, and clean the house without complaining? I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't even want to see it. I just packed up and moved in with Mark. After a while, Sarah didn't say anything. She was happy to have someone to help take care of Lily, and to cook sometimes, but Mark told me to go back home. How's Dad going to manage alone? I looked up at him. He's got arms and legs, and he still has his brain. Why can't he do it? Mark didn't say anything, but he didn't give up. On my birthday, Mark said we should celebrate properly, and I ended up in the kitchen again. I was busy all day. I made Lily's favorite mac and cheese, and Mark's favorite beef stir-fry. I worked until Lily came home from school and Mark got off work. I happily put the food on the table. Mark opened the door, revealing Frank and Brenda behind him. Frank came in holding a cake. Happy birthday, honey. I looked at Lily clapping her hands, and sighed. Put it down, please. I couldn't tell him to get out in front of our granddaughter. Frank was happy that I seemed pleased, and eagerly offered to go out and get some beer and soda. He left. Lily put candles on the cake but couldn't find a lighter. I went back to the bedroom to get a lighter, and I saw Brenda dumping all the food into the hem of her dress. She was grabbing handfuls of cake and shoving it in. Lily started crying. I saw Brenda reach out to shove Lily, and my body reacted faster than my brain and I pushed Brenda away. Frank came in from buying beer and saw what happened. His eyes widened, as if he was ready to explode. Helen, what are you doing? He dropped the beer on the floor. He ran to Brenda's side. Brenda wasn't hurt. I didn't push her that hard, but she stood there like she'd been terribly wronged. She looked up at Frank, tears welling up in her eyes. Frank looked her up and down. Does it hurt anywhere? Did you hit your head? Brenda shook her head. She turned her back to us, and showed Frank the food in her dress. I was hiding it for you. They were eating it while you were gone. I saved it for you. I had never seen Frank so angry. He stared at the food for a moment, and then turned around and flipped the table. He looked at me, and his eyes were filled with disappointment. He even raised his hand to me, but he didn't hit me. He pulled Brenda close, and said, slowly, clearly, take it out on me. But why are you treating her like this? I'm so disappointed in you. I never thought you were this kind of person. He grabbed Brenda and left. I stood there amidst the wreckage, and my heart sank. I'd been married to Frank for 40 years, and this is what it came down to. In his heart, the fact that Brenda had saved him some food was more genuine than the 40 years I'd cooked for him. Mark was sitting in a chair, covered in food. Sarah was busy comforting Lily, and Mark was busy yelling at me. Mom, I'm not trying to be difficult, but Brenda's sick. Can't you just give her a break? Sarah tugged at his arm, but Brenda went to push Lily. Mom had to push her away or Lily would have fallen. Mark didn't care. You're overreacting. Brenda wouldn't do that. I looked at him. He didn't seem to notice my mood, or see the situation I was in. He understood his dad more. Dad's a good man. Mom, you're getting old. You shouldn't be jealous. It's embarrassing. You know, the house was fine before. You messed it all up. Look what a mess the house is now. I repeated his words. It was fine? Do you know what our so-called fine life was built on? I remembered all those nights. The nights I couldn't sleep because I was so exhausted, and I'd have to get up to rub my back. Your peace and quiet was built on your mother's blood and sweat. Sarah pulled up Mark's arm, but he didn't care, and he laughed. Mom, don't be so dramatic. All you do is laundry and make dinner? Don't exaggerate. I've seen Brenda. She just acts like a child. She's not that annoying. You just don't like her, and you want her gone. I slowly sat down. My emotions seemed to drain away. Get out. I pointed at the door, with Mark staring back in disbelief. Get out of my house. He stood there, flushed with anger and embarrassment. You're the one who should get out. I couldn't describe how I felt. I saw Sarah pinch Mark. I also saw Mark look a little sorry, but I still felt like this wasn't my home. I suddenly realized my life had been a failure. I started packing my things, and I felt even more like a failure. I didn't have a lot of clothes. I'd had some of them for years. What was I thinking? I was getting old. It wasn't worth it to buy nice clothes. I'd rather buy them for Mark, or for Lily. I remembered my dead best friend telling me I was spoiling Mark. What did I say? No, he's my baby boy. I touched a black coat. Mark gave it to me when he was little with his New Year's money. I never wore it. It was too special. I kept it to look at when I felt bad. It reminded me of Mark holding the coat out to me when he was little, with his nose running. He said girls are their dad's little coat. He was a boy, so he wanted to be his mom's. He probably forgot about that now. He was used to his mom doing everything, to ignoring her. He liked his less nagging father, and the fact that his mother wouldn't get mad at him. I looked at the coat. In the end, I took it out of my suitcase. The memories were nice, but they were in the past. I left the house, and bumped right into Mark, who was coming in. He froze, and blocked me. Mom, what are you doing? Where are you going? I didn't know. I used to have an apartment, but I sold it to help Mark buy a house. I thought for a long time. Then Mark sighed. Mom, I was wrong. I shouldn't have yelled at you. Are you going back home? I'll take you. You and Dad should talk it out. You're married. You're supposed to be together forever. I shook my head. No, thank you. Where I go has nothing to do with you anymore.